Good morning. All right, so today we are going to talk about how to make food taste good. There are 4 key elements in making food taste good, and they are salt, fat, acid, and heat. These 4 things can make anything delicious, okay? And you're like, okay, salt, fat, acid, heat. A woman wrote an entire book on it. But it's true. These are the 4 things that make food taste good, okay? So when I talk about salt, I don't just mean table salt. There's so many different kinds of salt, okay? This is what's gonna be like in your salt shaker, okay? This is just table salt. It's very fine, okay? Table salt is very fine, tiny little pieces. It spreads easily over your food, okay? And table salt is fairly salty. It's made that way so that you don't need a lot to get the amount of salt flavor you're looking for, okay? Then there's kosher salt. This is how I cook. You'll see me today when I'm doing my recipe. I use kosher salt, I use a lot of it. Kosher salt is not a very salty salt, so it's great for layering in flavor, okay? Kosher salt also has much bigger flakes, okay? And they're more of a flake versus a crystal. That's the difference, okay? Kosher salt, all right? I'm actually gonna put this in a little container because I'm gonna use it later, okay? Kosher salt. I'm gonna pour myself out a good bit here of kosher salt. I am not gonna use that much, but I like to be able to pinch it up, okay? We have sea salt, okay? Ooh, sea salt. This is like a finishing salt, okay? Sea salt is also fairly large crystals, and it's more salty. Sea salt is made from basically evaporated ocean water, okay? It's a little briny. Again, not overly salty though. It's a great like pop of salt, okay? So like when you have candies, like sweet things that are salted, they usually are topped with sea salt because it's just a mild salt flavor, but it's just enough to get your mouth watering. And that's the reason we use salt, is to make our mouths water. When your mouth waters, your food tastes better because the flavor is able to spread through your mouth, okay? Then we have sources we don't always necessarily think about as salt. Soy sauce is a great source of salt, okay? Worcestershire sauce, that's how you say it, Worcestershire sauce. Ketchup, mustard, these are all sources of salt. Pickles, olives, capers, these are all salt sources. And when you think about the foods that you love and why you love them, usually there is some salty element to it, okay? So those are all ways we get salt in our food. Fat. Fat equals flavor, okay? But not just any old fat, okay? Caramelized fat, fats that have browned. This is where our food gets really good flavor, okay? So, sources of fats are things like oils, so olive oil, vegetable oil, butter, shortening, animal fat, okay? When we cook meats, okay, typically we want them to have a little bit of fat on them. Certain meats, we want them to have a decent amount of fat. If you're cooking something with the skin on, it's because you want to render out that fat. You want it to be crispy and you want to have that rendered fat taste. Bacon is a great source of fat. Fat is not a bad thing. Fat in large quantities and saturated fats, so lots of meat fats. When I cook meats, I don't usually cook them in meat fat. I cook them in a plant-based fat like olive oil or something like that because they already have enough fat in them, okay? Or sometimes I cook vegetables in a little bit of meat fat. I'll use a little bit of bacon fat or something like that to enhance the flavor. But I don't want my food swimming in it because a little bit of fat goes a long way, okay? Acid. Okay, acid comes in lots of forms. So vinegar, okay, this is rice vinegar, there's white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, there's so many different types of vinegars. Balsamic vinegar is one of my favorites. But acid also comes from plants. Citrus, lemons, limes, oranges, great sources of acid. Garlic, onions, great sources of acid. And what do these do? They brighten up your food. They wake your mouth up and you go, ooh, okay? It's a good thing. Acids can be overpowering, okay? If you've ever had a really, really acidic salad dressing and you're like, oh, it's like bitter, okay? Yeah, then it's too much. But acid is good. It makes your mouth go, ooh, and now everything's on high alert and your food just tastes better, okay? And the last one is heat, okay? Heat obviously can come from literal heat, cooking, the stove, the oven, the grill, okay? Heat, that's one source of heat. Another source of heat is the heat from capsaicin, the heat from peppers, okay? That comes in a variety of ways, okay? So one of my personal favorites, hot sauce. I love hot sauce. So Sriracha, Cholula, Valentina, Frank's. I love hot sauce. I'm an equal opportunity hot sauce eater, okay? Black pepper. Sure, it's not very spicy, but for some people, black pepper is all they can tolerate, okay? Other spices, okay? Turmeric and cumin, or not cumin, curry powder, okay? There are heat sources in food cultures all over the globe, and they're incredible sources of heat. When the spice trade happened, it was a revolution not just in cultural exchange, but food. All of a sudden, cultures that had only had a one-dimensional profile in their food had these huge expanses in flavor, okay? Think about some of your favorite foods, okay? They're probably not distinctly Midwestern, okay? You probably like foods from different parts of Asia and foods from different parts of Central and South America, maybe foods from parts of Europe or parts of Africa. Beautiful, beautiful flavor profiles from all over the world because we've taken ingredients from all over the world and incorporated them to make our food taste better, okay? So those are those 4 things that make your food taste good, okay? So now I'm gonna pull over what I need to make my recipe today, okay? All right, I am gonna be making a butternut squash soup, okay? I'm incorporating all vegetables. This can be a vegan dish if you choose to make it that way, but this is one of my favorite fall soups. It is absolutely delicious, and you can access the recipe on the website, okay? So, yesterday I roasted off some butternut squash, okay? So butternut squash, those are the long ones. They kind of look like a giant orange pear, right? They're kind of fat on the bottom and they're a little skinnier on top. I roasted off 2 of them. So what I did is I cut them in half, I rubbed them with olive oil and kosher salt, and I baked them for about an hour until they got super, super soft, okay? And when I did that, then the skins peeled right off, okay? So now I'm just left with nice, soft, roasted squash, okay? This recipe also calls for onions, celery, carrots. My grocery store was completely out of giant carrots, so this is what we're with today, guys. And potatoes, okay? And then I am going to be adding chicken broth to mine today. You can also use vegetable stock. You can make your own stock. And I also have some leeks. I may make another soup today too while I'm here. All right, so I am going to end this video and start a new one focusing on knife skills, and we'll continue with the soup there.